the results, election results for the local councils, local authorities elections is still coming. And yet, from the results we have received so far, the People's Struggle Alliance has been, we have secured 16 seats across the island, and over 50,000 people have voted for us. So first of all, we wanted to extend our gratitude and say thank you to the people who have trusted in us. And the trust which people had in us since the presidential elections has grown. Within a short period of time, our vote base has grown, and for that we must thank the people who have listened to us, who have journeyed with us, and who have trusted in us, and who have voted for us. So first of all, we want to say thank you. But second of all, I also want to say that the People's Struggle Alliance were a party which started by creating a manifesto. We started our campaign based on a manifesto, not on individuals, not on personalities, but on a manifesto. And we started off by saying that the trajectory which at that time during the presidential elections, the trajectory which the previous governments have taken by going with the IMF, by agreeing to a disastrous debt restructuring agreement was bad for our country, and we must take a different path, political path, if our country had to come out of a crisis. Now the NPP won the presidential election and then the parliamentary elections, and we continue to warn and say the NPP should not go with the IMF and the IMF conditionalities. The NPP did not heed to the warning of the People's Struggle Alliance, and as a result, even just before the Pradesh Sabha elections, the President made an announcement that the electricity tariffs are going to go up. Now in whose interest is something like the electricity tariff going up? In whose interest is that? It's not in the interest of the Sri Lankan people. But this is one of the IMF conditionalities, that the tariffs must be in line with market pricing. So this is one of the reasons we have been warning and saying, if we go with the IMF path, our country will continue to remain and remain in that debt cycle. Similarly, we warned about the debt restructuring agreement which Ranil Wickremesinghe entered into. And the moment this government came to power, they went ahead with the debt restructuring agreement, despite the fact that in the elections they promised an alternative debt sustainability analysis. And now we're going to end up paying 14% more than what we would have paid before the debt restructuring arrangements. We also told the government that there has to be a permanent solution to the national question. We said if the country has to come out of this crisis together, there has to be a permanent solution to the national question, to the Tamil people, to the Muslim people, to the Malay community. The NPP government once again did not heed to a warning, and instead they took the trust which minority community placed in them during the parliamentary election. They took the trust and ran with an arrogance by scapegoating minority parties. That was their strategy throughout the Pradesh Sabha elections. They were scapegoating minority parties and telling minority communities not to vote for the minority parties because they were cheating them. When in fact it was the NPP government which was cheating the minority communities, which had trusted the NPP government. The NPP said that they're going to abolish the PTA. To date, the PTA has not been abolished. They said that they were going to release the political prisoners. Soon after the election, they said, we don't have any more political prisoners. Then they said, we're going to find some kind of solutions to whatever happened soon after the war. Few days or few weeks before the Pradesh Sabha elections, they came and issued a gazette to say that we are going to claim lands in the north which has not been claimed by people in the north, without realizing that lands are left abandoned because of the war, and people are still coming out of a post-war phase in the north. The plantation community, the 1,700 wages which was promised by the Ranil Wickremesinghe government, the NPP government could have easily raised the wages of the plantation workers. But to date, that has not been done. They promised that they would find a solution to the land question faced by the Malay community. They did not do that. They did not hold to their promise. Similarly, the Muslim community was pushing for a solution or answers to the Easter Sunday attacks, because the entire community was scapegoated after the Easter Sunday attacks. And the government to date has been dilly-dallying on the inquiry, saying that reports have not come up, not showing the final report and so on. So they have absolutely not been accountable, or absolutely has not acted in the trust which people, particularly from the minority communities, despite the fact that the JVP historically has a racist past, despite that the people placed their trust in the NPP from the minority communities, and they completely abandoned that trust. And that is the result which we have seen in the Pradesh Sabha election results so far. So what we want to say is, this is not only in the north and the east and in the central provinces, but it is also in the south, where we are seeing far-right racist parties galvanizing support from the masses, from public. We see the SLPP and their vote base once again growing. And who is responsible for this? The only party which should be held accountable for this is NPP. When people took a political risk, a political choice to vote for a new party, and that party did not deliver. So these are warning signs for the NPP, which I think the government should heed to. And one of the things which we want to say is that when the People's Struggle Alliance was contesting in both the presidential and the parliament elections, we warned the government of its foreign policy, both in its stance with regards to the United States as well as India. And we were once again correct. When Trump pushed that tariff on us, 44% tariff on us, the government did not have an answer to that, despite the fact that they went and begged from the United States to withdraw the tariff. To date, we don't have an answer to that question. And there's been unrest particularly within the garment sector, particularly within the garment workers in Sri Lanka because of the tariffs. To date, people don't know whether they will have their jobs tomorrow or not. Garment workers don't know. And similarly, we warned about India's encroachment into the politics of Sri Lanka. But once again, the president did not heed to our warnings. And today morning, in fact, rather yesterday, the Indian government has launched a completely unprovoked air strike on Pakistan. And these two countries are in a brink of war. And there is a danger that we would be caught in between. And our people will suffer due to the diplomatic policy which this government is taking forward in having close ties with India. So, as the People's Struggle Alliance, as a political alliance which is gaining popularity amongst the people, one of the things which we would continue to do, both through the Pradesh Sabhas in which we have seats, but both through this as well as our national policy, one of the things which we would continue to do is to continue to hold the NPP government accountable for the promises it made during the elections, but also continue to be a critical opposition to whatever the government is doing against the interest of the Sri Lankan people. And what we have always said is that we don't need seats in parliament, we don't need seats in the government to be the critical opposition to this government. And we have kept with that promise, and we will continue to do that. In terms of the Pradesh Sabhas, we once again want to say thank you to the people who voted for us and in the trust which people have placed in us, and we would support the administrations, local administration on the ground, and we will support whatever is needed on the ground to be done in terms of the work of the people, whether it be fixing roads, whether it be the mosquito issue which is happening, the chikungunya pandemic or the chikungunya issue which is happening all around. We would continue to support whichever party which is in power in those aspects. But this would be a critical support on our part. Thank you.